Before I start this week's podcast, I want to ask you a favor. The number one comment I've gotten from people that are listening is, I wish I had something like this when I was starting out. I wish there was a podcast like this when I was in college, when I was an assistant. So I want you to think of one person that you think would benefit from hearing these interviews and share the podcast with them. Email them the link, text them, pause this episode right now and call them and tell them to listen. I want to get this podcast into the ears of as many people as possible that could use it, because I think there's a lot of really good knowledge and advice that my guests are giving that would be helpful to a lot of people. So share the show, spread the word, and enjoy this week's podcast. Welcome to Working Class Hollywood, conversations with people that make the movies, TV shows, and entertainment you love. If you're looking to break into or move up in the entertainment industry, or you're just a fan of content and want to hear about how it's made, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Jeremiah Smith.
I'm sitting on the floor. Quentin Tarantino is over my shoulder. The sound guy is in back of Quentin Tarantino. Samuel Jackson is in the passenger side. And Robert De Niro is driving the Volkswagen van. And I have to shoot on Robert De Niro's chest. And we need to see blood go all over the inside on the windshield of the car.
My guest today is Tom Bellissimo. Tom does special effects for films and TV shows, and he is incredible. He has worked on so many movies, ranging from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, From Dusk Till Dawn, Charlie's Angels. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. If you've ever watched a movie or a TV show and seen an explosion or someone get shot with a gun or someone's arm getting chopped off, it was probably Tom that did the effects to make that possible. He is hilarious. He has amazing stories, and I really think you're going to enjoy my interview with Tom Bellissimo. All right, I am here with Tom Bellissimo. Tom, thank you so much for letting me come up to your beautiful house and do this.
No problem at all.
And I will be honest, like when I started this podcast, you were one of the first names that came to my mind, just because. So Tom and I met years ago, like 9 years ago, 10 years ago. I can't even remember. But I was working in development at this production company, LMNO Productions, and Tom was pitching some shows. And so you came in and pitched to us, and I was very taken by you and everything that you do. So I was excited to like. You
guys didn't take any of my shows, but
that's because I wasn't making the decisions there.
Gotcha.
Tom, I was just the junior guy.
No problem.
So tell me, where are you from originally, and how did you make your way to Los Angeles?
Okay, originally I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I still use the word Brooklyn as a middle name in all my credits. So, most of my credits. So most of the times they'll do that for me, and the end of a movie or a TV show it'll say T. Brooklyn Bellissimo.
And why do you do that? Just as a homage?
Yeah, for two reasons, I think. I originally, to show my friends in Brooklyn that I'm here in California and this is what I do. The first thing. And the second thing is it always caught my eye that when you look at credits at the end of the movie, short, cool names or really long names stand out. So T. Brooklyn Bellissimo, just as like a long name that people go, what, who, what, that fucking guy? Yeah.
And they Google you and
exactly
get more work out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you grew up in Brooklyn, and when did you start working in your industry? Did you start working out there, or did you just come to LA?
No, not at all. I came out here to Los Angeles as a book and magazine illustrator. I went to college in New York at the Art Students League and Pratt's Phoenix School of Design, two different colleges in Midtown Manhattan. And I became an illustrator, and I didn't want to be an illustrator in New York. I wanted to come out to California. I really liked it here. Came out here, landed in Hermosa Beach, didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license. And
you don't need one in New York, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I ended up being an artist and working at home, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And after a few years of working at home and stuff and, making a living that way as an artist, I got MTV for free in an apartment building that I moved into. And I'm watching MTV and I'm just like, it's 1982. MTV is just starting to get red hot. And I'm looking at these things and I'm going, man, I don't want to do this. I want to do that. So,
what were some of the videos you remember, the bands that were on at that time?
Wow. Video killed the radio star and all that other stuff, and Michael Jackson and whatnot and everything. So I really wanted to be involved in this new thing, that was happening.
And it wasn't music. You weren't like, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to be the band front guy for the band. You were like, I want to make these.
Yeah,
these
I wanted to be an art director or design some of these, come up with the ideas for these things. So my brother lived in New York still. My family lived in New York. Excuse me. And I reached out to my brother's girlfriend at the time. Her name was Pam Lewis. And she was in the business, of entertainment and she was trying to manage bands and stuff like that in New York. And she came out here to California, and I says, hey, do you know anybody out here, that I could talk to? And she said, yeah, I know this guy, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she gave me some people to call up, and I started calling them up and bugging them about getting a job. I've never worked in the industry before, so I had to bullshit and say that I knew what the hell was going on and everything, and that I had moved out here from New York and that I worked on films and stuff in New York.
Oh, you just lied to people.
Yeah, I absolutely lied. As a matter of fact, I took a few courses at night from a college in Redondo Beach or whatever and stuff. And it was adult school stuff at night, and it was audio-visual communications, just to learn the lingo. So I bullshitted, and I said, yeah, I know all about upstage and downstage and, 5Ks and 10Ks and la, la, la. Yeah, I worked on commercials and everything. And because of my thick Brooklyn accent at the time, people believed me, and, I was dropping this shit. So anyway, so Pam turned me on to these companies. I called up the companies, and this one company, I says, what's the biggest company out here? And at the time, she says it was Limelight Productions. So I says, well, okay, then if I'm going to be at the bottom, I'm going to be at the bottom of the top. So I called up Limelight. I bugged them. I just kept on calling and calling and calling and calling. And finally, they gave me a job as a PA. And my first job was with this girl, this new star nobody had heard of before, and working with her. And I'm supposed to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning as a PA, and I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working. We finish, and it's 5 o'clock at night. It's like, man, this was cool. They're paying me $50, and it's like, wow, this was a great experience and stuff. And he says, okay, so now to the second location. And I swear. And I went, second location? They said, oh, yeah, the lake. Oh, what lake are you talking about? And they said, Lake Castaic.
Oh, God.
And I pull out my Thomas's guide, and now I have to go to Lake Castaic. Anyway, I ended up working in Lake Castaic. We shot all these scenes at Lake Castaic of her in this car, an amphibian car and stuff. We finish at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm dead tired. I was driving a 1970 convertible Cadillac at the time. They said to me, hey, Tom, could you drive the singer home back to the hotel while we finish some stuff up here? So now I have to drive her, the star, to Hollywood and drop her off at her hotel. So I get in the car, and she's falling asleep, and I'm falling asleep as I'm driving, and I turn to her and I go, Madonna, if you don't talk to me, I'm going to fall asleep. So she goes, oh, okay, Tom, so New York, huh? Yeah, what clubs did you go to, blah, blah, blah. And me and Madonna start talking. It was Madonna's first video ever. It was called Burning Up for Your Love.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your first day on your first job.
First day, first job.
And you're like
Madonna.
chumming it up with Madonna.
And then I'm telling my friends, yeah, man, I heard the song all night long, man. I think this chick is going to be pretty hot, man. Her name is Madonna. And, you know, a few months later, boom, it's all over the airwaves. And she just like a shooting star, of course. And we know.
Yeah.
And I ended up working with several different people over the years. Tom Petty, Ronnie James Dio, just on and on and on. I worked with so many groups, man, Jay Giles Band and stuff like that. It was very hot. And it seemed like, you know, once it took off for me, I started just doing it like every other week, every third week, every week, 2 times in 1 week, blah, 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 SIR. And I broke into the art department.
And these were all music videos?
All music videos.
Okay.
That's all I was doing was music videos. So just one music video to another, to another, to another. And I'm doing smoke and stuff like that. And the next thing I know, somebody's going, yeah, so the effects guy, could you come over here? And I'm going, effects guy? That's what I am? Oh, okay. And that's how I broke into special effects.
So you were just PAing.
I was PAing.
And then you got in the art department.
That's right.
And
then props.
And someone's like, oh, this is the effects guy.
And next thing I know, they're calling me the effects guy. And then next thing I know, I'm working on all these videos, doing smoke and meeting all these people and getting recommended from one place to another. And then I broke into television. First show I got was Tales from the Dark Side, which was a non-union, real low-budget show. And from there, I just started working on some movies. I did Sid and Nancy and a few other movies, just Quiet Cool and stuff for New Line Cinema. Then I got onto this movie called Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
And then I did 4, and I did 5, and I did Jason Goes to Hell, and I did...
And at this point, you were doing more than just the smoke,
special
right?
effects, yeah.
And I want to talk about this because you do special effects, and these days, you know, people think of special effects as like giant green screens and rotoscoping and, you know, visual effects and like computer animation and everything.
Yeah.
But you don't do that, right?
No.
What do you do?
Okay, I am an on-set mechanical effects supervisor or coordinator. So basically what it is companies, TV or movies, hire me and I read the script, you know, and I go over all the effects from elevator doors shutting to rain outside to snow to wind on greens outside a window so it actually looks like we're on a location and not on a soundstage, to bullet hits and explosions and fires and hurricanes and all sorts of shit like that. So and I've been very, very fortunate just to fall into things. Doing all these low-budget horror movies, you know, you really get in there with the guys and stuff. And I ended up meeting this guy named Greg Nicotera, who owned K&B, who is now the executive producer, showrunner, or whatever and stuff of Walking Dead.
Yeah. And what was he doing?
He was doing all the blood, pumping the blood and everything. I was doing the bullet hits, the fire, the wind, the what have you. And then there would be scenes where, okay, we need this chainsaw to go into somebody's stomach, and then blood squirts all over Leatherface. So between rigging a chainsaw with a fake blade on it or a fake chain to go over to somebody and start squirting blood, and then Greg taking over from there and his prosthetic and everything else, and we worked hand in hand. And the really weird stuff is that, you know, one thing, like I said, leads to another. I'm working with Greg, you know, on and off and stuff, and I get called up one day, and he says, "Hey, Tom, man, I need a favor." And I says, "What? Whatever you want." He goes, "Look, I'm working on this show. The guy has no money. He's first-time director. The budget is nil. We're doing this thing with this guy's head blowing up and stuff, and I need you to blow up this head and blah, blah, blah." I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah." He goes, I said, "When?" He goes, "Day after tomorrow." I says, "Okay, where?" He says, he tells me the name of the location. I said, "Okay, I got to pull a permit. We're going to use explosives in the head and everything else. What is the head made out of? Gelatin, la, 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 la." And him and I go over everything. Okay. So I pull the permits, I get the explosives, I go down there, I bring my bag of tricks with me and stuff, you know, small budget show. meet Greg, start talking to him, look at this head that I have to blow up and everything. I says, do I get to talk to the director and stuff? He says, yeah. He brings me over to introduce me to the director, and there is Quentin Tarantino, who was nobody at the time, except for a really smart guy and a really good writer. And he's pouring water on John Travolta and Samuel Jackson in the back of his house. And I'm going, what the heck, man? This is Samuel Jackson and John Travolta here in it? And yeah, they're going to be in the car, and you got to blow up this head. And it was Marvin's head.
For Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction,
But
yes.
So it wasn't a TV show.
Oh, no.
It wasn't a low-budget TV show.
It was a low-budget movie,
Feature. Got it. Okay.
And, so, from that till Dusk Till Dawn, and now I'm working before that with Robert Rodriguez, and now I'm working with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino at the same time with George Clooney, and, and then, I had done... a lot of television too, so I was going from TV to movies, and when I was doing TVs, I'd be on full time, and if I was on a movie, if it was just blowing up ahead, I'd be in for a few days, or it'd be a movie where they had to carry me the whole time, me and my crew. I had a few guys working with me, and we would do fires and bullet hits and stuff like that and everything, and then I ended up doing the television series Tales from the Crypt, which lasted for me for 6 years, HBO show. I did Carnival and stuff. And when I did Tales from the Crypt, I got to meet so many directors and so many producers and stuff. And then I did the Tales from the Crypt movies as well, House on Haunted Hill and stuff like that, Demon Knight and blah, blah, blah. And, just on and on and on. And I ended up working with Zemeckis, and then Zemeckis hired me to do What Lies Beneath. And at one time, this is a good story.
I'm just letting you go because I love your story. So.
All right. This is just, talking about right place, right time, falling into something. I get called up, I get sent the script, I get called up first, and they said, we want to send you the script, blah, blah, blah. We're going to hire an effects guy. We got this movie, it's not much money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah. So I get the script, I read the script, and I go, oh my God. The script is filled with so many effects and so many visual effects. And visual effects were just getting hot at the time. They were really starting to really pump. And I had found out through my connections that ILM was going to be doing the visual effects on it. So I says, here's my chance for an Oscar. If I do this movie, I have a chance, maybe to be considered for an Oscar. So let me try to do this. So I go in, and I had read the script and blah, 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 and I'm talking to the producer, the executive producer, and the production manager. And at the end of the conversation, they said to me, I said, so do I get the movie? And they says, well, we actually had this other guy that we want to give the movie to. We actually brought you in just to get your ideas and to get you to bid against him. So I says, because
they just admitted that to you?
Yeah, because I was like, I want the movie. Could you say yes? Could you say yes? I says, what do I have to do to get this movie right now? I mean, for you to shake my hand and say the movie is mine. And the guy starts laughing at me. And I says, no, I'm serious. Tell me, what do I need to do? And he goes, you need to do this movie for $95,000. I stood up, I stuck out my hand. I says, it's a deal. He shook my hand. I got the movie. It was The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And I did that for $95,000. I hardly made a penny on that movie.
And that sounds like a lot of money, but that's, to me, I'm thinking that includes your budget for all of your effects and any explosives,
all the
your
people,
crew,
my crew, everything.
That's not just you getting a check to put in your bank account for $95,000.
That's total everything, for every screw, nail, wire, every single thing. And you know how many effects were on that show. It was loaded with effects, man, all the bullet hits and everything else and stuff. So I've been very fortunate to be called up from doing stuff. I think the whole thing is, especially when I was younger, I gave it my all. And my partner at the time, Charlie Bellardinelli, is another effects guy. Him and I got together. We started B&B Effects. And between Charlie and me, we busted our hump doing as much effects as we can wherever, Salt Lake City, wherever we were sent, man. And we didn't complain. And we complained, but we didn't complain to the producers, yeah. And we just worked and worked and worked and worked and gave our all. And the word got out, and I was getting recommended. And just one thing led to another, and that was it. If you work hard, people notice, and
yeah, and that's I think that's something that's common in all the different industry, or all the different areas within our industry. It's like, because we go project to project to project, it's not like you're looking for a job at Apple or IBM or
That's right.
Whatever. You're going to get a job and just stay at the same company for 35 years. You have to be making connections. You have to be making good impressions on people, because you're going to be getting hired 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 times in a year.
That's right.
So it's, just work hard, make a good impression, make connections, and
move on.
Get referrals. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you like about this job? Like, what's fun about it? I mean, it sounds fun because you get to just go to different movie sets, blowing up cars, shooting people with guns, setting things on fire. So, I mean, is it as fun as it sounds in my head?
Yeah, it gets real nerve-wracking at times because the pressure could be a lot. But the good thing, the things that I enjoy is the camaraderie, working with all the people and laughing, and the hours that we have to put in. If I always said, if I don't laugh every day, I'm getting out of this business, because it's tremendous. It's a lot of pressure and stuff like that. But I've gotten to travel from all over the United States, East Coast, West Coast, Morocco. I did a movie in Morocco and stuff, which was like, oh, Morocco? Yeah, sure, I'll go. And it was great. And when the hell was I ever going to go to Morocco? A guy from Brooklyn? No way. As far as the other question you were asking, like the things that I dig about it and stuff is, blowing stuff up, talking, reading something, and then talking to the director. Okay, I got another story, and I'll tell you. I got called up by a producer one time, and he said to me, I had worked for him a couple of times. He goes, Tom, I got this really low budget movie, man.
I like how that's every conversation where producer starts. This one has no money, Tom.
No money. I'll get you on the next one. But anyway, he says, this young director, he's good. He's up and coming and everything. And I think this is going to be a pretty good one. But I read the script. Anyway, the movie was Saw. I did the original Saw.
The first Saw movie.
So, and I got to meet the director and stuff, James Wan, who is a great guy. And the thing that blew me away about James Wan was not only was he young, and this was his first thing that he ever did, out of college, and talking to him about, the torture devices and getting into him with him, and me going, hey, no, you know what we could do? We could do it like this. And him going, yeah, that's good. And him and I got along really good. And they were telling me that, the main torture device was the reverse bear trap. And it was going to go on, they had a teaser that they did, putting it on his partner's head. But they were going to put it on Shawnee's head. And I knew Shawnee was a really small actress. And I was like, Shawnee can't have this big steel contraption on top of her head. So I redesigned the idea that James Wan had. And we built it out of aluminum and made it really threatening and stuff. And they didn't have any money on this show. I mean, this show had like no money. So I built all the torture devices. Me and Charlie did the whole thing together ourselves.
So everything. If I watch Saw, all the different, the guy crawling through the barbed wire.
Well, the barbed wire was just rented fake barbed wire and stuff. But like the drills going into the actor's head, they slide from side to side, and they're getting closer and closer to his head. The reverse bear trap, obviously. The shotguns hanging up on the ceiling. Even the main character had a huge stiletto knife attached to his arm that came out and cut Danny Glover's throat. I even we built that, me and my guys and me and Charlie and stuff. So, you get to where there is no money, and as a young up and coming person, and, I'm looking at myself like, oh shit, I know more about this stuff than him. Wow. Which is like kind of surprising because you always think the director knows everything. You get to feed stuff to them and go, listen, I understand that's what you want to do, but because of the money situation and everything, it might be a great shot. I'm not trying to tell you how to shoot it. I'm just making suggestions. We could do blah, 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 blah. And they go, oh, that'd be great. Yeah, let's do that. And next thing you know, the script changes and it's an idea you came up with.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me with Robert Rodriguez. I've done that so many times. He's such a great guy when it comes to that. Like, Robert, how about if the shotgun goes into the bad guy, into this monster, and Harvey Keitel has the shotgun stuck through the guy, and now another monster's coming, and he pushes the guy over with the shotgun still stuck through him, and pushes it in and pulls it out, like click, click, puts another one in the chamber, and shoots through this guy. The shotgun is stuck through him, shoots the other bad guy. And he goes, can you do that? And I said, yeah, like a arrow through somebody's head. Where it's a piece of metal going over your head to the other side of the arrow.
Right.
He goes, sounds great, but could we have flames come out of the shotgun? I went, absolutely.
So that shot was your idea.
Yeah. So I get to see, not only do I get to work with great directors and writers and stars and stuff and everything else, but I get to come up with ideas that sometimes they go, I go, listen, and it's not like I'm trying to push my idea. It's just that their idea isn't as practical as they think it might be. So I come up with something else that might be even better. I'm just trying to stick to what their end result is. And they go, oh, that's great. Yeah, let's do that. And that's happened with me so many times. And I've gotten to meet so many of my heroes, Robert De Niro, I'm sitting on the floor with my feet between two front seats. Quentin Tarantino is on camera over my shoulder. The sound guy is in back of Quentin Tarantino. Samuel Jackson is in the passenger side, and Robert De Niro is driving the Volkswagen van, and we're downtown, and I have to do a squib on Robert De Niro's chest. Samuel Jackson has to pull out a gun, shoot Robert De Niro. We need to see the flame come out of the gun, and we need to see blood go all over the inside on the windshield of the car.
What movie is that?
That was Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown. How many Tarantino movies did you work on? You did Pulp Fiction, and what other ones?
Wow, I did Four Rooms, Pulp Fiction,
Jackie Brown.
I also started Kill Bill until Quentin fired me.
Oh, no.
No, it was okay. We got into an argument about snow, which is great because then I didn't see Quentin until he was getting ready to do Hateful Eight. We bumped into each other in Hollywood. We were on the same lot together. And I left a card in the window of his car saying, it's been a long time, like to work with you again. And Quentin called me in, and they gave me the script for Hateful Eight. I was one of the only two effects guys who had it at the time. And I read it, and I went in to meet with Quentin. And when he told me that we were shooting the whole thing on top of a mountain in Colorado during the winter, I went, why? Why can't you shoot that on a stage? I understand the vista shots, Quentin. Yeah, that's a great idea, but all the interior stuff, most of it happens interior. Why be on top of a mountain? He goes, I want it so cold, man. I want to see that breath. I said, we could do that on a soundstage. We could actually make the soundstage so cold that you'll see the person's breath. It's been done before. He goes, no, I want to be up there. I went, well, I kind of like the job I'm doing right now, and I like going home at night and sleeping with my wife. And he goes, you don't want to be cold? I says, Quentin, I don't want to be cold. He goes, okay, Tom, no problem.
Do you remember the argument that you got with him on the set of Kill Bill about snow?
Yeah.
You tell me that one?
Well, we were prepping, so we were having a hard time in the beginning because Quentin was actually studying to become, He was taking karate lessons because he was going to play the kung fu master in the film.
Or the one that David Carradine ended up playing?
No. He was going to play the old guy with the long white hair and the long white beard.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Quentin was practicing for that. So he was a hard person to get a hold of in the beginning of the movie. So we scheduled a meeting, and we had this round table meeting, and every department got to talk about what their problems are and stuff, so Quentin could hear it and we can go over stuff. And I brought up the plastic snow, and that there's a better product out there than plastic snow, and that if you breathe in the plastic snow, you can get toxic shock. And Quentin went ballistic because he wanted to shoot this thing in China where they used the plastic snow. But I had let the cat out of the bag, sort of, by saying that it's very dangerous to use plastic snow and blah, 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 and that's what they use in China, and that's not what we prefer to use here in America, and let's ship this stuff over from here. I did not know that Uma Thurman had already told Quentin that she would not work in plastic snow. So Quentin got into an argument with me, and I was fired that weekend.
Because you wanted to use something that wouldn't give people cancer.
Well, I didn't want to get toxic shock. I knew two women were going to be running around breathing very heavy, her and Lucy Liu. So the funny part of this story is, and Quentin's going to hate me for saying this, but
he'll never hear this.
Yeah, somebody will tell him. The funny part of this story is that I got fired. That was on a Friday, the meeting. I found out on Monday. I went to a party on Saturday with Quentin Tarantino and everybody, and nothing was said. And on Monday, I was told that I no longer had the job. Well, by that Friday, I got a new show, and that show was Charlie's Angels 2. So had much more bigger explosions and everything else, which I'm more interested in. So I was in charge of second unit on that. Matt Sweeney was the special effects coordinator, and he gave me all the action on the show. So I'm blowing up cars and everything else and stuff. So here I am, a week or two later, and I bump into Lucy Liu, and she goes, "Tom, I thought you were doing Kill Bill. What are you doing here?" I said, I got fired, Lucy. Because I had seen her at this party, and she was with my daughter at the party. She was taking my daughter around by the hand. And anyway, so she says, "Why'd you get fired?" And I told her why, about the toxic shock. And she went, "I'm going to tell Uma." And I went, "Why don't you do that for me?" Well, lo and behold, about a month later, I get a telephone call from one of the production people. "Hey, Tom, that snow that you brought up at the meeting, where could we get that stuff from?" And I says, "Why don't you ask Quentin?" And I hung up. That's true.
That's
true.
That's good. So did you ever, have you talked to him since the Hateful Eight thing, since you turned that down?
No, I haven't talked to him. And I know the show that he just finished doing didn't have hardly any effects in it, but Quentin had told me at that meeting that he might be doing a horror movie, and I don't know if that's a secret or not. You never know with Quentin, but I would love to work with him again, just one more time. I would love to work with Robert Rodriguez just one more time.
What was that like? What was From Dusk Till Dawn like?
From Dusk Till Dawn was the most fun I ever had doing a movie. It was insane. We had such a good time. It was crazy. George Clooney is so funny, and all of us stayed at the same hotel in the middle of Barstow. And we took over this hotel, and we did this explosion out of sequence. They came to me and they says, "Oh, the actor ain't going to be here, so Tom, we need you to do the explosion today." And I went, "What?" And they says, "Yeah, you got to blow up the outside of the titty twister today. You got to get it together." And I'm like, "Oh, shit, man." So we're getting it all together, and we really weren't prepared for it safety-wise. And I told them, this place might catch on fire. It did. So we blew up.
Was it a real building, like a real location?
No,
it wasn't
no.
like a facade or something?
No, it was a facade.
Okay.
But it was a facade, and if you remember, the front of it, it was built out of foam. on a facade with all this neon lights and everything else and stuff. And foam is notorious for catching on fire. And we're out in 116 degrees, I kid you not, 116 degrees in the daytime, out on a dry lake bed in Barstow. So I said, get the water truck ready. So they got the water truck ready and everything. And Cheech Marin delivers this line and da-da-da. And everybody goes running and boom. We we blow it up, do this explosion, fire coming out the front and stuff. And okay, now the front of the building is on fire. Okay, let's put it out. So we're trying to put this thing out. George Clooney actually ran back and jumped on the hose with me and my crew to put the fire out, because he used to work for a volunteer fire department.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so we got the fire. We were worried for a while, but we got the fire out and everything else. The set got burnt up pretty bad. Robert Rodriguez says, okay, well, now we have to rebuild the front of the set. We're going to have to find other things to do. And, we were like, okay. So anyway, that night, we're all in the hotel, and every night at that hotel, just about every night, because we work so hard, the blenders would start, and everybody was drinking tequila, and everybody that was on that movie, all the stars and everybody are like in the hot tub, and there's joints being passed, and it was party central, man. I'll never forget that the transportation guys had their bathtub filled with ice, and that's what they used as a cooler. All the beers were inside that. So we're partying, and we're talking about this fire, and oh my God, and blah, 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 blah. And Cheech Marin goes, yeah, man, the fire started, man, so we had to jump on it, man. We had to put this thing out, man. Yeah, it was pretty crazy and everything. And Harvey Keitel is listening from his room on the third floor, and he comes out in his boxers and goes, Cheech, you're so fucking full of shit. You ran away like a little baby. It was just one of those really crazy, amazing adventures to be on. And I don't use the word amazing, but it was quite something else.
How long was that shoot? Do you remember?
I don't even remember. Probably 2.5 months, something like that.
And that was like, is that type of movie kind of like your playground and your dream? Because that wasn't like digital effects. That was all like prosthetics and like just guns and
I don't think there was any digitals except for the hole in Quentin Tarantino's hand.
Right.
I got another thing I could tell you about that movie that's a secret that nobody knows.
I love it.
And I'm going to spoil it right now, man. It's kind of funny. Quentin's going to hate me for this one, too. Tough shit. Anyway, Quentin, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but he's not a very good actor.
Wait, is that the secret? I don't know if that's the secret.
That is not the secret.
People might know that.
That is not the secret. The secret is that some of his lines were delivered not so well, especially to George Clooney, that I guess, and I'm just guessing here, George Clooney and Robert Rodriguez had a discussion, and the next thing you know, Robert Rodriguez, the director, comes up with this brilliant idea. You know what? I think it'd be even better if Quentin Tarantino's character always whispers in George's ear. So Quentin would go, and George would go, did you tell my brother Richie that...
They made that change basically because they weren't happy with Quentin's acting.
I think that was pretty much it in a nutshell. Yes.
Oh my God, that's so good. What's like the effect or the explosion, or what's something that you're like most proud of, like the thing you did, you're like, man, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, on the show Carnival. It was an HBO show. We did a lot of wind and dust and stuff, but we did an explosion. We had to do a reenactment of, in a much smaller scale, but was pretty friggin' huge, an atomic bomb going off in the desert. So we used, I think we used like 6 55-gallon drums filled with gasoline. just unbelievable amounts of primacord all wrapped around it and everything else. And when we did this explosion out in the middle of this desert, and we couldn't hurt the dry lake, it was on a dry lake bed. That's the other thing. We couldn't hurt the dry lake bed, so we had to put all this plywood down and everything else. We didn't hurt the dry lake at all, and we did a mushroom cloud that from a quarter of a mile away, it felt like somebody punched you in the chest. It was unbelievable. It was beautiful, man.
Wow.
It was the biggest single explosion I ever had my hands on.
Are there any movies that you watched and went, God damn it, that should have been me? Like, or that you could feel like you could have done better?
You always think about it, like, what was he thinking when he did that? That kind of stuff. But there's a lot of movies. There's a few movies out there that I would love to have done. I'd love to have even just been a part of, The Godfather, obviously, and stuff. Joe Lombardi, who everybody calls pretty much the godfather of special effects. Joe Lombardi made his chops on I Love Lucy, and he came up with all those gags and stuff. Well, he just went on and on and on, and actually, when Sonny gets shot up with the machine guns and stuff at the toll booth, it's Joe Lombardi who actually shoots him while he's laying down on the ground and then kicks him in the face. And he's dressed, obviously like a gangster of the time and stuff like that and everything. I would have loved to have been on a movie like that. But, Raging Bull, I mean, not a lot of effects, but I would love to have been part of Raging Bull and stuff,
What's like the state of your side of the effects industry today? Because you do mechanical effects, just real life in camera effects, but obviously there's so much digital going on now.
Sure.
Are you like a dying breed, or is it still needed? Like,
this is the weird thing. Okay, everybody was like, "Oh man, with the digital effects, man, you guys are going to be out of business," and stunt guys used to say that to effects guys. We got this thing between stunt guys and effects guys. I don't know if you know it, but we bump heads quite a bit.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you have a camaraderie, but you have
there's a camaraderie and a rivalry all at the same time. It's like brothers. Anyway, they would say like, "Hey man, with all the digital effects and everything, you guys are going to be out of business in no time." I says, "Are you kidding? How fast they're going to put the actor's face on somebody? You're going to be out." I mean, look at Tom Cruise and stuff like that. Anyway, when they started doing the big visual effects movies like Twister and stuff like that and everything, they needed all the wind in the foreground in order to make the Twister look real in the background. So it just made more and more work for us, which is very fortunate. And it's still going on right now. I mean, they're doing King Kong versus Godzilla out in Hawaii, and I know the effects crew that are out there, and they're busting their butts, running all over the place, doing explosions and all sorts of stuff like that. Every time Kong smashes something, it's them actually smashing it. You could put Kong in, but if he puts his fist down and there's nothing there to break, I mean. And the other thing, too, is with the new TV sets that they have out now, the digital effects look so awful. They look more and more. It used to be with the older TVs, you couldn't really tell, like
they weren't as sharp, so you couldn't see as much.
That's right.
Detail.
Now you could just you pull them out like, oh yeah, my kid plays a game and the game has better visuals than that junk that I just seen. But thank God that even with the great TVs that they have out now and the heavy, super HD shit that they got out there and stuff, when I blow up a car, you see that car blew up and you go, whoa, So
your industry, you're part of it. It seems to be fine. If anything, it's become like a, just working together with the visual effects and special effects and everything. Absolutely.
And the other good thing too is, they don't have a an Oscar for the special effects guy, but they do have an Oscar for visual effects. And the rule now is that they could put up to 4 names up for visual effects for an Oscar, but one of them has to be the mechanical effects coordinator on the show. They could put 3 visual guys up, but the 4th guy has to be the mechanical guy, which wasn't the case when I did The Mask. And that's why I wasn't nominated with the visual effects guys on that show.
Did that movie win for visual effects?
No, it did not. As a matter of fact, Forrest Gump did.
Oh.
Or
yeah.
no, was it Forrest Gump? Or no. I take that back. It was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh,
I believe.
Another good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? How do people get into this? So let's say there's someone listening now that's like, oh man, this sounds awesome. I want to blow cars up and, shoot squibs and, do all that stuff. Like, how does someone get going in this side of the industry?
Well, if you go through the regular stuff, okay, it's like you could do what I did, and work on, commercials and stuff like that and work your way up. If you start out as a PA, my best advice for anybody who wants to get into the business but doesn't know exactly what they want to do, start as a PA, because if you're as a production assistant, you're the lowest person on the totem pole. You get to look at every job and go, oh, I don't want to do that. I ain't going to do that. Ooh, that doesn't look so bad. Oh, that doesn't suck so much. And, you get to pick and choose because you're on the bottom.
Yeah.
But in the union and stuff, I belong to a union, the Local 44, the IATSE. You start off as a carpenter, and then, which is the easiest way to get in because there's more carpenters than anything. The Local 44 is the biggest local there is. I think there's like 6,000 or close to 6,000 members, and most of them are carpenters. And then from carpentry, once you get in, a special effects guy can hire you to work under him. And then you learn prop shop, which is welding and fabrication with metal and everything else and stuff. And then from there, when you get enough experience, if you're fortunate enough, then you can go for your special effects card. And that's what I have. You work your way.
And that's something you get through the union.
Through the union,
and but what about just getting a carpenter gig at the union? Like, how do you just show up at the union and knock on the door and say you want a job?
Almost. What it is it's so busy these days that you have to find a show or get your name out there or go visit shows and stuff and find the carpenters, find a construction crew and say to them, hey, if you're ever looking for anybody, man, I'd love to work with you guys. I'm not in the union and blah, 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 and this is my number, and just stay in contact with them, because when the carpenters call up the union and they say, oh, we need 15 more guys for tomorrow, and the union goes, we only got 11. Well, they still need 15 guys. So they can hire 4 guys who are not in the union, and they call them permits. And if you get 30 days on one show as a permit, you could become a carpenter. You could get into the union that way. Or if you get I believe it's 60 days and 6 months from several different shows, you could also get into the union. So that's a good way to do it.
Gotcha. And then how do people learn? How did you learn to blow stuff up, like pyrotechnics and all this stuff? Like, where do you? Are there official classes and training, or are you just?
The guy who taught me most of the stuff about the movies, his name was Pat Patterson, and he made the smoke come out of the Tin Man's hat on The Wizard of Oz.
Wow, old school.
Okay, old school. He passed away many years ago and stuff, but Pat taught me and several other people, and since then I've taught probably definitely over a dozen. I've gotten over a dozen people into the union myself and taught them and everything. As a matter of fact, there's this one girl, her name is Kristy Sumner, great chick. Kristy, I met her on a rock video one time, one of the Madonna rock videos, not the first one, but anyway, we met on the thing, and hey, started talking and everything, and I found out that she wanted to learn about special effects, and I went over to her and I says, I heard you want to learn about special effects, and she said, yeah, and I says, look, if you want to come and hang out with us at any time, you can come out and you can watch me and my guys and stuff like that. And she says, okay, so she comes, she hung out with us, and she seemed like a very sensible, mechanical, gifted girl. So I liked that, and she was a great person. So then she started working for us as our PA. And as she started learning how to weld and this and that and everything else, she was working for me part-time, and she was working at a photo lab. And I said to her, you know what? It's time to go into the photo lab and tell them you quit. Mm-hmm. So she did that, and she started working for me full-time, and then I got her in the union, and she now is and has always been the first female 1 card, which is the highest explosive license you can get in the state of California. And so she started from just being a PA in the art department to working for us, and she just kept to it, and she's awesome.
So there's not a school or
no school.
University to learn how to blow shit up.
No school.
It's a kind of a handed down knowledge. Like you have to find someone that does it. They teach you, and then I imagine there's like tests or something that you take to get these cards and like.
Exactly. You work your way up, but you know it's really weird, and this podcast could even help me at this. I'm hoping to semi-retire starting probably May of next year, at the soonest. But when I retire, one of the things I want to do, I know there's colleges, besides in California, there's colleges in every state of the United States that teaches about the movie industry. And you're taught probably by good teachers who have some kind of experience. I want to go to those colleges and teach them mechanical effects. I don't care if I have to volunteer. I'm ready to go to colleges, have talks, tell people about stuff, and take them through a script, even if they have a script, and read the script and go, okay, right here, we need wind over here, and now the fireplace, that's an effect, and blah, 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 and take them through the ABCs of effects and take whole classes and teach them everything that we do. Because, if you, say, live in Florida, how could you possibly learn about the movie industry really well in school? When you get out of school, you're only going to know what you're taught, So I just want to help. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have, a ton of knowledge that, would be so valuable to so many people. So, I hope let's find you a place to teach and drop that knowledge.
Yeah, as my ex-partner, Charlie Bellardinelli used to say, I forgot more than you know.
Yeah. What kind of people in your experience gravitate towards mechanical effects or do well in it? Is it sort of like the engineering, mechanically inclined people that are handy can do that stuff? Is it creative? Is it both? What do people need to do this job and do it well?
You have to be good with your hands. You have to pay attention and learn because, there's no shortcuts. There really isn't shortcuts, especially when it comes to pyrotechnics. You know what I mean? That's how you lose a finger or whatever. But, anybody who is good with their hands, and there are many people out there that are good with their hands, from plumbers to people that work on cars to carpenters to welders, every part of those professions are all worked in special effects. Since I've gotten into special effects over 34 years or whatever the hell it may be now, 35 years, I've learned plumbing, I've learned hydraulics, I've learned everything that I could about propane and fire and explosives, and it's just you just keep on learning. I guess you have to be mechanically inclined. Mm-hmm. That would be the first thing. The other thing is I had a foot up on it, and I didn't even know. when I got into the business, because it just so happened that my father, when I was growing up, my father used to work for Con Edison in New York. But we got to go on vacations every summer from all the money that my father made selling illegal fireworks in Brooklyn. So I was around fireworks as a kid the first time I got busted with fireworks, I was in the 4th grade.
Oh my God. So you were like raised to do this job.
Yeah. So explosions and explosives never bothered me. My father taught me the safe way to handle stuff and everything else, and showed me what the hell it could do. And so I had a great respect for it growing up as a kid and everything else. So when I got into it, I took it like a duck to water. And as a matter of fact, all the guys who I work with are better welders than me and better carpenters than me, and they're better at almost everything. You'll find your own forte, and my forte is pyrotechnics.
You just love blowing shit up.
I love blowing stuff up.
That's awesome. I've been asking this question to everyone that I'm interviewing, and I'm getting like a really cool, different answers from everybody. What is the best advice that you've ever been given in your career?
Oh, I know. This was. And I've told it to this guy's son. Just recently, I seen him on something. The son is a special effects guy. I was working on a show, and I didn't have my pyrotechnic license at the time. I was on my way up, and we had to do bullet hits on one of the actors. So they brought in a professional, and the guy's name was Larry Roberts. And Larry Roberts came in, and back in the day, he had white OP shorts. He had a Hawaiian shirt on, white sneakers and white socks. And, I'm covered in dirt from working. I'm looking at this guy, and he does the bullet hits, and I'm just helping him. I'm giving him a hand. I'm helping him out and stuff, because I'm the special effects guy on the show. And after he did the bullet hits, he says, "You want anything else?" They said, "Yeah, could you do a couple of bullet hits on that?" He said, "Yeah." He did the bullet. "You need anything else?" And they said, "No." He cut the wires. He says, "Okay, that's it. I'm done." They gave me his check. I looked at the check before I gave it to him. I went, "Man, the guy made as much in one day than I make in a week." So I gave it to him. I says, "That's unbelievable that you made that kind of money." And he says to me, "Hey, you know what, kid? It's not how much money you make an hour or how much money you make a day. It's how much shit you rent them." And I went, "How much shit you rent them? What did he mean by that?" And I looked at the smoke machine, and there was a name on the smoke machine. And I called up that company, which was in Chicago, and they told me the company in Los Angeles that sold those machines for them. And I called them up, and I found out that machine went for $500. Meanwhile, the producers were renting it for $150 a week. I went out and I bought that machine. I rented it to the producers, and with that money, I bought a fan. And that fan and that smoke machine were the beginning of all the equipment I have. And now I have probably $750,000, if not more, of equipment.
Wow.
And my equipment makes more money than I do. And that's why I could retire next year.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's so great. And that equipment, it's just going to keep working, and it's not like a camera or a computer that's going to get phased out.
That's right. That's right.
Great.
There's fans that we're using right now that were built in 1971 that are beautiful, and they whisper. You can't even hear this fan when it's on. So you can do wind on somebody's hair as the girl is talking to the actor, and you never know. It's like she was outside. And, it's specialty equipment. If you could get into any business, but especially the movie industry, producers and production companies really don't want to own anything. Mm-hmm. They want to rent it all. So if you could buy and rent to them, if you put yourself in a position, as I am, as a special effects supervisor, to say, "Oh yeah, you're going to need a trailer full of equipment. Oh yeah, we're going to need a Ritafan for that. And rain bar. Yeah, we're going to need 2 rain bars." That's where the money is. Of course, everybody that works for me makes good money too. They all make over $100K a year, no problem at all. But to own equipment that you could rent over and over and over again. You get to work less and less and less.
I love that. So you're looking at retirement in the next 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And what are you looking forward to long term? What are you going to do in your retirement years?
Well, the good thing about retiring and being a union member is the union actually lets us work 39 and a half hours per month without it phasing any of the money that we get from the union, our pension checks and stuff like that. So the best thing about that is I'm able at my age to go out and work 39 and a half hours per month, and that's basically all I really want to work, and blow up a car.
So that's like 5 days a month, 4 days a month, something like that?
Yeah, sometimes we work 12 or 14 hours in a day. So maybe it's 2 days or, 2.5 days or something like that. I'm just going to go out, hey, Tom, could you come out? We're going to blow up this truck and we have to make a car flip over. Yeah, you got it. You're going to do this. And I'll go out there and help them out pyrotechnic-wise and stuff like that. Visited sets and hang out. I'd love to do some safety stuff for Netflix and other companies like that and whatever, be a safety advisor and, just watch the flowers grow.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tom, this has been so good. I love this. I love your stories.
Thank you.
You're such a fun, nice, interesting guy.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. You got it.
All right, that was my chat with Tom Bellissimo. I could listen to Tom's stories, seriously, forever. Like, he could just tell me stories all day and I would be satisfied. I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode. If you did, do me a favor, go on to iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening and leave a review, rate it, subscribe. Also, think of someone that would enjoy this podcast and share it with them. Maybe there's an assistant Maybe someone's working as a PA. Maybe someone's in college studying film and TV and they're planning to move out to Los Angeles. Share this podcast with them so they can benefit from all the advice and wisdom that my guests are bringing to the show. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the comments I've been getting. You can follow the show on Instagram at Working Class Hollywood. Also, you can email me if you'd like. The show's email address is show, SHOW, at workingclasshollywood.com. I'd love to hear from anyone with thoughts, feedback, ideas for guests. I really appreciate anytime anyone gets in touch. Thank you guys for listening again, and I will see you next time.